Hare Krishna, and welcome to all the devotees for our third session. Thank you very much for your kind attendance as we go through the journey of or through divine love. And this is Kamaduri Karambini by Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. Let us do the Mangala Charan prayers first. Om Gyanatimi Vandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha. Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Itam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopeka Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste. Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhe Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Pastata Disatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 All right, let us take a few minutes to cover any feedback or questions that anyone has. Please type in the chat anything that you found interesting or that you learned, or any specific questions before we continue from yesterday's session, where Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur focused on how one gets bhakti and what is the actual source of bhakti. Shamananda Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, if you have time, kindly share where this comes in with regards to the points yesterday. Example, when out on Sankirtan, devotees can pray to Krishna seated in the heart of everyone to dictate to some soul to come forward and take a book. How's all this working? Yes. So this is, and Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, so for example, he's making the point that firstly, it is by the devotee's mercy that one gets Krishna's mercy. So when you praying to the super soul, you are wishing that that person gets bhakti, that person takes a book. So it is your desire. Firstly, it's your effort that you're out there trying to give Prabhupada's books out. So that's the first thing. Without you going out there, it ain't going to happen. Nobody's going to get touched. The books are not going to go out on their own, unfortunately. You need a devotee to take the books out. The holy name is not going to resound itself, unfortunately. You need the devotees to take the holy name out on the streets. Therefore, more glorious than the books, than the holy name is those who are carriers of the books and the holy name, distributing that. So because you're out there and your desire is to give the books out, that is how Krishna gives his mercy out. And then you pray to the super soul. That is also so praying, begging Krishna, distributing the mercy. That is all part of how Krishna empowers the devotee to give mercy. Now, Krishna, he manifests in this world as Chaitya Guru. And therefore, when you pray to the soul, super soul, Chaitya Guru, Krishna as Guru is also inspiring that soul to come forward and take a book. Okay, so this is how your prayer to the super soul is allowing the super soul to inspire that person to come forward. But that person, only due to his credits, whether sufficient or not sufficient, will be able to hear or not hear the super soul. The super soul, we wants everyone to take the books. But depending on the sufficient credits and sincerity of that soul, he will be able to hear that something is telling me, get that book. And you see, some devotees experience that. They don't know why, but they just feel like, I have to go see that person. Something's telling me, get there, take that book, read that book, like that. So it all still works in terms of devotees' mercy. And do you have sufficient faith, which comes from unknown devotional credits that have accrued? Mukund says, we can get bhakti only through the mercy of the devotees. Yes. And this is how Krishna's arranged it. Because Krishna cannot give. Not that Krishna cannot give. Krishna is independent. He can do anything. But he's given the rights. The distribution rights are given to the devotees. Hemavati Analiganda says, Srimad Bhagavatam 319. Tavakatam Ritam verse, devotees cause bhakti in others. Srila Prabhupada is Uttamadhikari and comes to Madhyam to distribute to everyone. Srila Prabhupada said, I've made your good fortune for you. Keep adding a Gyata Sukriti in our spiritual piggy bank. Yes. And this is how we should actually see the mission of Srila Prabhupada. It's not that everyone we're preaching will be 16 rounders. We'll start chanting 16 rounds. We'll take to Krishna Kon. No, there will be those that we just meet once in a lifetime. But when we meet once in a lifetime, let us give them the most glorious and eternal credits of spiritual devotional credits, unknown devotional credits. And in this way, we can help those souls. Mukund says, we do not have free will. It all depends on the modes of nature. And then Colleen says, but hang on, don't we choose which mode we are in? That is free will. So you don't choose like, okay, I want this mode, I want that mode, I want that mode. The way you choose is already by your association. It's not exercising free will. Remember, we already conditioned souls coming to this world. So we already have a certain blueprint of likes and dislikes, which are coming from our past conditioning. Yes, when you're talking about, this is your first contact with the material nature, then there may be free will that you're exercising. But we've been in this material world, it's described since time immemorial. So because we've been in the material world since time immemorial, you already have a huge and vast conditioning in relation to the modes. In fact, most cases so confused. That's why you're able to change so frequently. In some cases, certain aspects of your nature are very predominant in a specific mode. So it is the mode that allows you to decide. It's not the free will that, okay, I don't want the modes. The only time free will comes is as you progress in spiritual life and you subdue the modes and decide on the choices according to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Now you are exercising free will. Otherwise, you're not exercising free will. It seems like you're exercising, but actually it is not. And Sham Govind is Agyata Sukriti is the key. Right, wonderful. Thank you. Let us proceed. So this was basically what we covered yesterday. 5 different options that are there, how to get bhakti. And basically it is the devotee's independent will. Now, there's a warning. And this warning is as we go through the different stages of bhakti, do not use this for others. Do not start judging and seeing, oh yeah, that devotee is actually on this path and this stage, and he should be on this stage. Don't, we're not here to judge. No one is meant to judge anyone else but yourself. You're meant to judge yourself. This is for you to see where you are and what you need to do for you to improve or for you to get the desired result. Why is Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, exhaustively describing these stages and bhakti for us so that we can make sure that we get pure devotional service. We go through the stages so that we can get pure devotional service. Now, the remaining section of the first chapter glorifies bhakti in different ways. I have a question. And the question is, if you are given very valuable emeralds and you have no clue that these are precious emeralds, how will you deal with those emeralds? You are given some rubies, emeralds, precious emeralds, or even gold, and you have no clue what gold is, what emeralds are, and the value of them. How will you deal with them? Please share in the chat. Radhika says, you may reject them. Yes. Amavati Nalini and Nalinikanda says, keep it carefully and safely and ask a senior devotee what to do. But if you don't know, you may think these are plastic, cheap, then you may not carefully look after them or safely look after them. You will just, anyhow, okay, throw them somewhere. Keep them, maybe share with others to hear what it is, right? So you may, start distributing it because you have no clue. Speak to someone who knows about jewels, like a jeweler. Yes. So the point is, you won't give it, Daksha says, you won't give it importance. Good. So you're not going to look after it carefully. You may reject them. You may just distribute them. You don't know how important it is. You'll neglect them. Just keep them anyway. You're not going to keep them safe. This is why Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is spending so much time. We haven't gone to the second chapter. He's still on the first chapter. And he's trying to present and give us the glories of bhakti so that we understand what we have. We value bhakti when we have it. We know the importance of bhakti. We're not going to neglect and reject bhakti. So it's very, very important that we understand this section, because we're not new. It's not like we are totally materialistic people. I don't think I have any one of you here who are completely green and you have no clue what Krishna consciousness is, what Krishna is, what Bhagavad Gita is, what spiritual life is. You're like a total materialistic person just coming into this Zoom by chance. And you're getting exposed to all this, like, what's all this Madhurya Kadampinis? Like, even the Sanskrit sounds so strange. No, you all are on this journey already. So, firstly, if you're already on the journey, if you don't take it seriously, you may lose it. Or if you don't understand the importance and what to do, you may not be able to effectively capitalize on it, on the benefits and the glories. Or you may get derailed. Or you may be doing something wrong and you think it's okay. So therefore, Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is giving us these aspects. So I'm going to go through the different aspects that he's sharing briefly, just so that we at least get a taste of the power and the good fortune of someone that gets bhakti. Srila Jiva Goswami says, bhakti comes by the grace of a devotee. Thus it is established that Bhagavan's mercy, which is present in his devotees, descend upon another living being either through the medium of saintly association or by the blessings of a devotee, but not independently. So as Shamananda Prabhu says, just like we pray, so we can pray. And by blessings, by praying, by wishes, one can get. Krishna, he gives his Swarup Shakti. This is Krishna's own potency in the form of bhakti to his devotee. He can only reciprocate with his Swarup Shakti. Thus, he reciprocates only with his devotees. Super soul, you'll find there's no reciprocation. For the super soul, it's basically sanction and witness, and life goes on. But it's only because the devotee has the Swarup Shakti, manifestation of the Swarup Shakti, obviously in different proportions, Krishna can reciprocate. Independent bhakti spiritualizes a person's senses, and they take on a spiritual nature like our own, as fire transforms an iron rod with the quality of heat and light. And you see, Prabhupada often use this analogy that when we start engaging in the process of devotional service, our senses become purified. Our body, our mind becomes purified. When we completely perfect or completely have our life is completely focused in pure devotional service, we are absorbed in pure devotional service, our whole being, our whole body has become spiritualized, even though it is material, but it becomes spiritualized, like this iron rod acts like fire. Srila Jiva Goswami provides some insights into the Swarup Shakti in his Priti Sandarbha. And he says, very wonderful, bhakti brings one near to the Lord. Bhakti makes one see the Lord. The Lord is under the control of bhakti. Bhakti is the greatest thing of all. There is no other gift, no other valuable item or energy or personality or potency more powerful, more potent, more valuable than bhakti. Krishna, he cannot derive joy from the soul. The soul also has Ananda, Jivananda. The soul also has Ananda, but it cannot, in fact, the Jivananda, the soul, who has happiness, but the soul's happiness is really derived from Krishna, who has his own happiness coming from his own Swarup, Swarupananda. And Krishna, he gets his pleasure from the Hladini Shakti, from Bhakti, Bhakti Ananda, the bliss of the Lord Swarup Shakti. Bhakti is the bliss that arises from the Lord's internal energy, name, his pleasure-giving potency. For it is through this Hladini Shakti that the Lord experiences the joy of his own being and can be said to possess the attributes of joy. It is also through this Hladini Shakti that the Lord causes others to experience these joys. The Hladini Shakti can overwhelm him. And the personification of Hladini Shakti is Srimati Radharani. So all living entities derive pleasure from Krishna. Krishna derives pleasure from Srimati Radharani, the Hladini Shakti, from Bhakti. And when the devotee who distributes Bhakti to the souls, then they also derive pleasure from this Shakti. That is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Param Drishtva Nivartante. When we get a higher taste, this higher taste of Bhakti, we'll be able to give up all the lower tastes in this material world. Now, when we do Bhagavad Gita, part of the Bhagavad Gita Bhakti Shastri course, we do a yoga ladder course, which is basically the first 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. We're not going to go into the details of this yoga ladder, but briefly, the living entity goes, and he could go over lifetimes over this yoga ladder, starting with animal life, then he progresses to karma kanda, engage in different rituals, etc., to achieve better position on earth or heavenly planets. Animal life basically means eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, and one cycles in the lower planets or lower species. But when one now moves higher, because remember, you can even benefit animals by giving them prasad, then they also can be benefited and move higher on this yoga ladder. Through karma kanda, after karma kanda, then one progresses to karma yoga, and then to nishkam karma yoga, and one can get destinations like yogi families, heavenly planets, planets of the Prajapatis. Then one progresses further after many, many lifetimes. One comes to Jnana Yoga, and one can achieve the Brahman realization. Then one comes to Dhyana Yoga and Astanga Yoga. One can achieve Brahman and Paramatma. And then finally, one comes to Bhakti Yoga, and one can achieve the association of Lord Krishna. So one progresses on this yoga ladder. Now, what's interesting in terms of bhakti that one gets at this stage in relation to these different processes, yoga, jnana, and karma, including karma kanda, is that firstly, all these processes, they are dependent on bhakti. For any of these processes to deliver the fruits, there has to be a tinge of bhakti involved in that process. So for example, you find in karma kanda or even karma yoga, nishkam karma, in terms of ceremonies, etc., there'll be the names of Lord Vishnu, which is an aspect, a limb of bhakti yoga, of bhakti. So in this way, only by the mercy of bhakti can any of these other limbs achieve its or deliver its fruits. Otherwise, not possible. In terms of purity, or in terms of dependence, all these processes are dependent on bhakti, but bhakti is not dependent on any of these processes. You don't need to be a jnana yogi to get bhakti. You don't need to come to dhyana yoga and astanga yoga to get bhakti. You could be an animal and get bhakti. You could be on the lower rungs and get bhakti. You don't need to have any of these perfections. That's the beauty and the power of bhakti. Now, in terms of purity, bhakti does not require purity for you to get bhakti. Whereas the other processes, purity of time, of place, of circumstance, of individuals is very, 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 very important. So for example, if somebody is doing a yagya, karmakanda yagya, if the ingredients are not pure, at a specific time, the brahmanas are not pure, if the Sanskrit is not pronounced properly, you may get, what about not the proper result, you may get a converse result. In these processes, time, place, circumstances, prerequisites are all required. Just like Jnana Yoga. If you haven't achieved detachment, there is no question of you becoming a Jnana Yogi. Or even Astanga Yoga. Whereas with Bhakti, no prerequisites required. No requirement for any level of purity. Anyone on any platform, on any level, at any time, in any situation, can get bhakti. For example, like chanting the holy names. Anybody can begin chanting. There is no consideration of, for example, time and purity, that you have to do it at this time. Then faith. For all these other processes for you to benefit from these processes, there has to be faith. If you don't have faith, they don't deliver results. But with bhakti, even if you don't have faith, you can get the benefit. Yes, you may not get pure devotion, but you definitely get purified. That's the beauty of bhakti. In these processes, so for example, if somebody is engaging in charity, which can also be engaged by individuals on this yoga ladder, they will not get bhakti. Because we discuss piety, which is giving, for example, giving charity does not give you bhakti. But if that charity is connected to bhakti, for example, you go, let's say somebody told you that it's Janmashtami, go to the temple and just give a donation and you'll get lots of benefit. So you come to the temple, it's Janmashtami, you put a donation and then you leave. Because somebody told you give a donation. But because you gave a donation in relation to Krishna, you can get bhakti. So this is Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur discusses these aspects of the other processes, other forms of elevation, karma kanda, nishkam karma, karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, stanga yoga in relation to bhakti. He says in karma, jnana and yoga, the means or sadhana and the end or sadhya are different. When one is engaging in karma, jnana, yoga, you start with different processes or different forms of sadhana. And when you perfect that process, you've given up, you give up that sadhana. The beauty of bhakti is that in bhakti, the sadhana is also the sadhya. For example, one of the practices of a bhakti yogi in terms of sadhana is chanting the holy names of Krishna. We do that as japa or kirtan. And when we perfect, when we have pure devotional service, when we are pure devotees, when we uttamadhikaris, what we do? We still chant the holy names. In the neophyte stage as sadhana, we engage in regulated service to the Lord. In the perfectional stage, we engage in service of the Lord. So in bhakti, the means and the ends is exactly the same. The sadhana and the sadhya is exactly the same. Bhakti sometimes serves gyan. So we mentioned how every single process requires some tinge of bhakti. And that means Bhakti Devi mercifully accepts the sattva gun to help the gyanis achieve their destination, which is Brahman. So bhakti also, sometimes they say that bhakti is subservient to gyan, because you need to engage in a process of bhakti to perfect gyan. But the only reason it seems that bhakti is subordinate to gyan is because bhakti is mercifully allowing herself to be subservient to the process of jnana yoga, so that the jnani can achieve the respective goal. Just like Srila Prabhupada as a Uttamadhikari, he's coming to a lower position of Madhyam. That doesn't mean he's now, his purity has dropped. No, his purity is still Mahabhagavat, Uttamadhikari. But he's taking the role of a Madhyam. And as a Madhyama, he cooked for the devotees in the early 22nd Second Avenue, 26th Second Avenue. Srila Prabhupada would cut the vegetables, he would cook the feast, he would serve the feast, and then when everyone would leave, he would wash all the utensils. He was serving those that were coming to him. That doesn't mean that he's now on a lower position of a servant. No. Due to his compassionate nature, he's coming to that level to serve. So bhakti also, sometimes she can come to a lower level to serve, but that does not bring her position and her glory down in any way. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also writes that although lust is also considered a fault on the path of bhakti, one can still enter the devotional path despite still being afflicted by it and other material desires. This is not possible with any other process. For you to come to a Ashtanga yoga or the different stages in the other parts or other process, you need to be qualified. With bhakti, no problem. Even if you have all material desires, akama sarva kama moksha kama udaradi, where you have full of material desires, you're desiring liberation, no desires, doesn't matter. One can come to the path of bhakti and serve the Supreme Lord. Then Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur also writes, nor is bhakti even dependent upon faith. And this beautiful verse, O best of Bhrigu dynasty, even a single utterance of Krishna's holy name, whether chanted attentively with faith or carelessly, without attachment, will deliver any human being, no matter who. Power of chanting the holy names of Krishna. And Sanatana Goswami, commenting on that verse in Hari Bhakti Vilas, he says, the main fruit of chanting Harinam is divine prem. Chanting Krishna's name even once in any manner whatsoever, can give liberation, which is nothing more than one of its secondary effect. In the word parigitam, the word pari means that even indistinct or incomplete utterance or uttering of the holy name can give such a result. The example is given of the devotees in China. They cannot pronounce the word R. Now, if we take the Hare Krishna mantra, in the name of Krishna, the word R is, the letter R is there. In the word Hare, the letter R is there. And in the word Rama, R is there. So all three words, names of Krishna, of the Lord, they are pronouncing incorrectly. It's like Hale, Hare, instead of Hare, they say Hale. Krishna is like, I can't pronounce it, but they're not pronouncing it properly because the R is not there. Yet Krishna is giving them the mercy. Because why? Krishna understands the intention. Krishna understands the circumstance. So in this way, the holy name delivers the benefit. So it's not dependent on circumstance, the faith, etc. The Bhagavatam even states that bhakti can on occasion give results of Gyan, Karma, and Yoga paths without even the slightest engagement in those practices. So all the results that Yoga, Gyan, and Karma can deliver, you can get that through the process of bhakti. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, everything that can be achieved by karma, penance, gyan, vairagya, mystic, yoga, charity, dharma, and all other auspicious means of perfecting life is easily achieved by my devotee through bhakti. If someone or other, if somehow or other my devotee desires swarga, liberation, or residence in my abode, he easily achieves such benediction. That's why Prabhupada said, be very careful when you're chanting Hare Krishna. What's your intention? What's your desire? If you're desiring liberation, if you're desiring to go heavenly planets, the holy name is going to, the Maha Mantra is going to give that very quickly to you. More quickly than pure devotional service, because Krishna doesn't easily give pure devotional service. Pure devotional service doesn't come easily. Why? Because Krishna comes under control of pure devotional service. But these other secondary desired results, karma, penance, gyan, vairagya, mystic, yoga, yes, you want to take it, you can get it very, very quickly. So this is the power of bhakti. Just by engaging in bhakti, not only are we not deprived of all other results, but you get results that cannot be achieved by any other process, because only bhakti can give bhakti. In Bhagavad Gita 1855, Krishna makes it very clear, Bhaktya mama bijanati yavan yes chasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gnatva vishate tad anantaram. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So for us to enter the kingdom of God, we don't need perfection in yoga. We don't need perfection in karma. We don't need perfection in gyan. But we need perfection in bhakti. And here Prabhupada, in the verse, Krishna makes it very clear. And when one is in full consciousness of me. So we start with little consciousness of Krishna. And that builds and builds and builds until we're fully conscious of Krishna. Therefore, it's a journey. And as we progress on this journey, we need to be aware of the obstacles and of those things that can nurture and enhance our consciousness of Krishna. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur elaborates on his commentary on this verse. He says there are 4 types of jnanis. There's the highly condemned with no spiritual advancement because they do not take shelter of scriptural directives. Then there's the jnanis who cultivate knowledge with a mixture of bhakti. They follow scripture but take the Lord's form as material. Then you get those jnanis who cultivate knowledge along with devotion, and they adopt bhakti and attain their goal of Brahma Suyujya. And the most fortunate jnanis associate with great devotees, and they are blessed by devotee association, and they attain bhakti. So on this yoga ladder, on this journey of life, as one embraces different processes, there are mixtures of destinations because we all have different motives. Even when one comes to the path of bhakti, we will be covering that in the future chapters. There are different motives and therefore different destinations. But just as the jnani, the most fortunate jnani, the most fortunate yogi, the most fortunate karmi yogi is that person who gets the association of a pure devotee. Because if they get the association of the pure devotee, they are blessed and they can get bhakti. Otherwise, they obviously continue their journey in this material world. Lord Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam, O Uddhava, one who worships only me, giving up all kinds of other activities, is the best among sadhus. Though he understands the benefits of following the dharmas taught in the Vedas, as well as the negative consequences of not doing so, he gives up all such prescribed duties because he considers them to be a hindrance to meditating on. Very, very profound and powerful. Lord Krishna is making the point, who is the best devotee? Who is the best sadhu? That person who worships me only, giving up all other kinds of activities. Now, giving up all other kinds of activities in relation to bad habits, sinful activities, unfavorable activities for devotional service, that's given. That's a standard. That's basic. That's 101. But here the Lord is saying, why is he the best? Because though he understands the benefit of following the dharmas taught in the Vedas, as well as the negative consequence of not doing those dharmas, he gives up all such prescribed duties because he considers them to be a hindrance to what? Meditating Krishna. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's final instruction is Sarva Dharman Parityaja. He doesn't say Sarva Adharman Parityaja, give up all adharmas. No, that's already by the way. But Arjuna, give up all dharmas and just worship me, surrender to me. So this is also a sign of advancement. Because sometimes we'll see we attach, due to our condition, we attach to certain rules, certain regulations, certain rituals, certain traditions. Whether those traditions come through the family line or whether those traditions come through demigod worship, or whether those tradition comes through the Vedas. But someone who is convinced of the potency, the power, the glory of bhakti and our ultimate destination, they're happy to give up all these other secondary activities. And they know that I may get a reaction, no problem. But why am I giving this up? Because I don't want my meditation to be obstructed. Because when you're engaging all the other secondary activities and pujas, your mind gets distracted and sidetracked in all these things. And this itself can become an obstacle. When we go into the next, in the different steps, stages, we will see how sinful life, sinful bad habits, they can become obstacles. But even in the process of bhakti, there are obstacles. And here we see even activities which are authorized in the Vedas can become obstacles and hindrances. So we have to be aware. We have to educate ourselves. That is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is giving us this knowledge. So that with this knowledge, like in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, armed with detachment, armed with wisdom, you stand and fight. So with knowledge, we can now use our free will. So now coming back to quite a few questions related that we're talking about in terms of free will. See, I'm conditioned. Why am I conditioned? Well, my family and my forefathers, they all did this ceremony, worshipping this demigod, doing this yagya. On this day we observe this. During this month we observe this festival. So now, because I'm conditioned to do these different rituals, somebody who has this instruction in his intelligence, he will now subdue his condition and exercise his free will using Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra to say, no, enough. Now I'm only going to do what Krishna wants me to do in terms of bhakti, and simply remember him and worship him. And in this way, one will make more and more progress. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also then says, bhakti is the cause of bhakti. Teaches us that the fruit of bhakti in practice is bhakti in love for Krishna, showing that bhakti itself is the crest jewel of all human goals. We have so many purusharthas, so many goals, and ultimately Scripture says there are four most important goals for humanity: dharma, artha, kam, and moksha. And Srila Mahaprabhu came and says, and out of all these different goals, and even above the four goals, prema pumartha mahan, bhakti is the fifth and the highest goal. We have thus described to some extent how bhakti, this great manifestation of Krishna's essential potency, is all-pervading, all-enchanting, all-enlivening, super excellent, most independent, and self-manifesting, just like the Lord. If one takes to any path other than bhakti, then what can be said other than he is lacking in vision? Bhakti is the cause of bhakti. You will find this statement in Sanskrit. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. Bhakti gives birth to bhakti. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. Like in this verse, you'll see the third line. Bhaktya sanjayate bhaktya. From Srimad Bhagavatam. To the devotees associate with the devotees associate with one another by remembering Krishna together and reminding each other of him. In this way, they help to purify each other of sin. Practicing devotion, sadhana bhakti, in this way, they attain devotion in divine love, prema bhakti, which fills their bodies with ecstatic reactions like hair standing on end in ecstasy. So when we come together, we glorify Krishna, we remind each other of Krishna, we remind each other of the goal of life, to purify ourselves. This is all generating more and more bhakti. We already have sufficient sukriti, unknown agyata sukriti, that had piled up to turn into faith, to allow us to start practicing, which then gives us bhakti, to now increase more and more bhakti. Advancing devotional practice and its associated realizations and bestowal of spiritual fulfillment, accompanied by blissful experience, has been compared to the ripening of a mango. The unripe mango is sour, while a ripe one is very sweet and tasty. So, when we come to Krishna consciousness, when we come to devotional service, it's like we are already in perfection. But that perfection is unripe, sour, like a mango. But as long as the mango is connected to the tree, it slowly starts to ripen and becomes sweet and tasty one day. So as long as we keep watering the creeper of bhakti, the creeper of devotion, we will become ripe. This also shows that in the beginning, you're a mango, and at the end, you're a mango. Throughout your journey, you're a mango. It's just that the mango is changing from sour to sweet. So it's just ripening on the journey. Therefore, we tolerate also each other because we know everybody is on this journey of becoming ripe. When we become ripe, then we love it. Even in the beginning stages, you can have mango chutney, mango achar. It's also nice. So we want to advance. We want to get more and more realizations of Krishna. We want our spiritual desires to be fulfilled. We want to experience blissful experiences. They will all manifest in due course of time as we mature. And as we mentioned, in the beginning, the process in bhakti, the means of ripening, is also the end. We're not doing anything different on this path of on the path of bhakti yoga. We're honoring Krishna Prasad as the path of sadhana bhakti. And guess what? What's going to happen when you're in the spiritual world? You're going to be eating Krishna Prasad. Okay, that's the power, the beauty, and the glory of bhakti yoga. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur proclaims that bhakti is the crest jewel of all goals of human life, purusharthas. The glories of bhakti are so wonderful and unparalleled that every living entity should desire to attain it and nothing else. What we're also maturing on this journey is this level of faith that I keep practicing until I'm convinced that I have the greatest gift on the path of bhakti and I have nothing else to achieve. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says to Rupa Goswami, the ocean of transcendental mellows of devotional service is so big that no one can estimate its length and breadth. However, just to help you taste it, I'm describing but one drop. And Rupa Goswami took that one drop and gave us Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, an ocean of nectar of devotion from that one drop. So we can imagine what happens when we dive into the ocean. It's inconceivable. Totally, completely inconceivable of what we will experience. And Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he concludes this chapter with this statement. After going through describing the glories of bhakti, how one gets bhakti, all different facets of bhakti, he then concludes, Ko vai na sevete vina naretaram. Only a non-human would refuse to serve the Lord. So from tomorrow, we're going to start the next chapter, and we're going to now start this progression, which is basically from Nectar Devotion. Srila Rupa Goswami has described these stages in 2 verses in Nectar Devotion. Starting with Ado Shraddha, faith, then Sadhu Sangha, association devotees, then Bhajana Kriya, performance of devotional service, Anartha Nivriti, decreasing of unwanted attachments, then Nishta, steadiness, Ruchi, taste, Ashakti, attachment, the first ray of love of God called Bhava, and then pure love of Krishna called Prema. And all this is achieved through association. It's strengthened through association. It grows and matures through association. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has taken these stages and is also elaborated up to 14 stages. As he's describing how one gets bhakti, he says actually really because the way bhakti is distributed, it's the mercy of the devotees. So really it's first starting with Satam Kripa. We get mercy. And with that mercy, we begin to serve the devotees. Mahat Seva. And from that service, we start to develop faith, Shraddha. Then we surrender to the Guru, Guru Padashraya. And then we desire for performing devotional service. Then Bhakti, Bhajana Kriya. Then cleansing of anarthas, Anartha Nivriti. Then steady practice, Nishta. Then we get Ruchi, taste. Then Ashakti, attachment for pleasing the Lord. Then we get Bhava, Rati. Then we get pure love of Krishna. Then we get Darshan, seeing of Krishna. And then we experience the Lord's sweetness, Harer Madhurya Nubhava. So these are the different stages on this journey of divine love. Most of us are in these stages where we now are engaging in Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, cleansing, and depending on our intensity, our strong faith, our understanding, we can engage in the process. And if we understand what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is presenting to us, we can slowly move higher to the other stages. Otherwise, we can get locked here, or this can take many lifetimes. So we want to expedite this process, this journey. This journey takes the longest. Once we over Narta Nivriti, then it's downhill. This is the greatest obstacle. And we'll see when Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur discusses these different stages. So, in conclusion and in summary, in this first chapter called Prathama Amrita Vrishti, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur has said, the highest understanding of the absolute truth is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. The Lord and Sudha Bhakti are self-manifesting and independent. The Lord bestows his mercy and pure bhakti through the devotee. The Supreme Lord is subservient to his pure devotee. Bhakti is not caused by any other processes. Rather, it is bhakti which supports the other processes. Bhakti does not depend on purity or faith. Bhakti is not one of the means of attaining jnana. Bhakti sometimes plays the role of jnana's assistant only to support it. Therefore, only an animal would reject bhakti. I will share a video link, and that this video link maybe tomorrow, or let me see if I can share it now as well. It's also in the academy. This session, which we covered in the Srimad Bhagavatam, I covered the 9 stages using an analogy of wanting to have mango lassi. And we don't have mangoes, but we need to grow the mangoes. And I have no clue how mango seeds look like. So then I start my journey to go to the nursery, and I describe the stages in using this analogy of harvesting mangoes. And then there's also, this is in the beginning, and then we also go into different sections covering these different 9 stages through different scriptures, like in the Shikshashtikam, these 9 stages are there. In Nectar of Instruction, these 9 stages are there. So we go through these different 9 stages, and we also, there's also discussion of the Narta Nivriti stage. So you can obviously go through that. But from tomorrow, with the guidance of Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, we're actually going to go into more detail now. Step by step, we're going to start with the different stages, and he's going to start unfolding the different stages so that we can appreciate what that stage is, what's involved in that stage, what are the characteristic qualities of that stage, what are the obstacles in that stage, what can we do to amplify that stage and move forward. So tomorrow we will continue. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Nitai Gopramnande Hari Hari Bol. Are there any questions or comments anyone has? Please type that in the chat. Nirvana says, can we experience the highest stages while on this earth, and how would we know it? So that's what Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is going to describe. He's going to share all the different stages so we can understand. Now, you cannot experience the highest stage if you're not there. Sometimes the Lord may give you glimpses, like rays, very flickering glimpses of like raindrops of the experience, but they're just to whet your appetite and to intensify your desire. But to experience higher stages, you need to definitely have gone through the lower stages. And how will you know that you're experiencing the higher stages? You will know that through Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur's description of the characteristics of those stages. So as we go through the different stages, step by step, you will then be able to understand, okay, this stage, these are the characteristics, this is my experience. That way, you will then be able to use that as a checklist, as a blueprint to map yourself to say, okay, where am I? What am I experiencing? And what should I do to move to the next stage? Mukund says, is devotional service and bhakti the same? Yes. So you find throughout scripture, the word bhakti is used. In Srila Prabhupada's books, he uses bhakti, but most often, wherever bhakti is, Srila Prabhupada has written devotional service. Why? Because bhakti, which means devotion or love, is never ever without the foundation and basis of service. The whole essence of love means active service, active love. Clearly distinguishing from the aspect of, oh, I love God. And what am I doing? Nothing. So in order to distinguish from people that just use lip service, I'm a lover of God, Prabhupada said clearly, bhakti means devotional service. So now when you say I'm a lover of God, it means I love to devotional service. How much devotional service am I doing? You can now practically measure how attached you are to Krishna, not just through your lip service, but through practical devotional service. Therefore, bhakti is non-different from devotional service. So Prabhupada, he understands our conditioned nature. So in order to guide us, he always talks about devotional service. That is bhakti. Hope that clarified that. Hemavati Annalika said, beautiful class. Thank you very much. Real nectar, thank you so much for your feedback. Hemavati. Radhika says, how do we know what Krishna desires? Very simple. Krishna has made it very clear in the Bhagavad Gita what he desires. So if you read Bhagavad Gita, you'll know what Krishna desires. Through Prabhupada's books, through the ambassadors, the agents of Krishna, you know what Krishna desires. Through the mercy, so Radhavani knows Krishna best. So if you want to know what Krishna desires, you ask Radhavani. And the associates of Radhavani, the immediate associates, the Astasakis, Lalita, Vishaka, and the other Astasakis, they know what Radhavani's desire is, to please Krishna. So then you ask Lalita Saki. And Rupa Goswami, Rupa Manjari, is the direct associate of Lalita Saki. And Rupa Manjari has appeared in this world as Rupa Goswami. So if you go to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you go to Rupa Goswami's scriptures, you will know what Krishna's desires. Prabhupada is coming in that line. Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is coming in that line. Therefore, you go to these acharyas, they will tell you what Krishna desires. So in this way, we can actually understand Krishna's desire. Through the parampara, through the spiritual masters, and ultimately through Krishna's direct instructions in the Bhagavad Gita, and also through Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakti Collins says, we were showed some cows last night. Where are these cows? They are beautiful. They're in Brits in South Africa at Govinda's Goshala. Our host is us right there at the Goshala. Right. Thank you very much. So we will continue tomorrow in detail, starting with faith and moving ahead. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai, Go Pramanande Hari Hari.